Shortly before 12 noon on April 10th, 1912, the largest ship ever built by the hands of man left Southampton for her maiden voyage. She was the Titanic, the most advanced vessel ever designed. With a displacement of 66,000 tons, she was 11 stories high and 4 city blocks long. On the bridge stood Captain E.J. Smith, Commodore of the White Star Line and the dean of his profession. This was his last trip before retirement, and he was determined to see this ship safely to New York. After all, Captain Smith and most of the press with him considered the Titanic virtually unsinkable. After short stops in Cherbourg and Queenstown, the ship turned west and headed for the Atlantic, with 2,200 souls on board. On Sunday, April 14th, the 5th day of the voyage, the Titanic was steaming east at an accelerating pace. A White Star Line official on board was overheard at dinner saying he wanted the ship to beat the schedule, perhaps even set a record. Captain Smith had merely nodded. Then at 9 a.m., Smith received a wireless message from a ship called the Caronia. Icebergs had been reported, but the Titanic plowed on at a breakneck speed of 23 to 24 knots. In the hours to come, more warnings arrived by wireless. The Baltic reported ice at 1:42 p.m., very near the Titanic's course. So did other ships, including the America, the Californian, and the Mesaba. The Californian decided that the ice field was too hazardous to continue, and the captain ordered all engines stopped. Captain Smith still decided to proceed. We now know why. The Titanic was on fire. The huge piles of coal built to feed the hungry boilers had ignited from within. None of the passengers were told, but under the circumstances, the Titanic had no choice but to race the clock. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic bore down head-on towards an iceberg. As the watch in the crow's nest called out the alert, Captain Smith was not on deck. Had he been there, the captain would have rammed the iceberg with the strongest part of the ship, the bow, but the helm was held by First Officer William Murdoch. He ordered a full speed astern and a turn to starboard. He thus exposed the most vulnerable part of his ship, the flank, to the iceberg. Water poured into no less than 5 compartments below deck, dooming the ship. For the next 90 minutes, the Titanic sent out a frantic distress signal, while the passengers were loaded into the lifeboats, beginning with first class. But here was the catch. The ship carried only 16 lifeboats, enough for just about half of the people on board. At 2:20 a.m. on the morning of April 15th, 1912, it was finally over. The Titanic raised her stern. A massive roar filled the night as boilers, pianos, glass, and furniture broke loose and collided. Then, slowly, the ship slid into the cold water of the Atlantic. As morning dawned on the scene, there were only 12 lifeboats adrift, many half empty. Over 1,500 passengers and crew had perished.